Today I'm in Lone Pine, California, and I actually came out here earlier this year back in January, but the weather was just so bad. It was like 60-mile-per-hour winds for 3 days straight. I ended up taking, I think, 3 exposures on that trip, and one of which I really like. It was the shot of the Eastern Sierras with the Alabama hills right below, and the foreground kind of hugged the Eastern Sierras, and then you had this nice open feeling at the top of the image. So happy with that one, but that was my only calm morning. And then the rest of the trip I pretty much drove around, scouting out and sort of conceptualizing photographs for the future. And one of them, which is why I'm here today, was a cottonwood tree where you have the branches just kind of ending, and below them is the Eastern Sierras in first light. Now, I haven't actually found the cottonwood trees that I want to photograph, or a composition on them, obviously, but I did scout this area, so I have quite a few trees in mind that I want to go put a frame on and see what that looks like. So I'm going to get my things packed up and head out there. All right, well, I think I found my subject here. It's looking like a 240 millimeter, 300 maybe. So I'm gonna go grab the 8x10 and start working on a composition. So it looks like I'm gonna get a break here to shoot a backlit scene. And if you guys watched episode 3, I did end up getting a new light meter. I actually found one at an estate sale of all places, so pretty bummed about my old light meter. I had that one for 13 years. So I brought some Portra 400 with me, just in case the leaves on these trees were going to be quaking in the wind, which they are kind of now. Plus I had it, and it was expired 2 years ago, so I might as well use it. Right now the cottonwood tree is blocking the sun from hitting my lens, so I'm pretty good. And I really like these shadows that are being cast by the trunks of these two cottonwood trees. I'm at f45. It's a fourth of a second on Portra 400. Just waiting for it to calm down. Almost there. Just a backup shot. Now it's nice and calm. So this is my dad's old Pentax 6.7 that he let me borrow about 5 years ago. I'll give it back to him one day. So I'm pretty happy with this composition for tomorrow morning. And I think what I'm gonna do is take the camera apart, but just leave the skeleton here. Something I've been doing for a while. And one nice thing about this camera is you can take everything off and it's metal, so I don't really worry about it kind of falling over and breaking because I also take the ground glass with me as well. So I'm gonna get things packed up here and go make some dinner. Good morning, everyone. Had a great night's sleep last night. It's about 45 degrees maybe, no wind and no clouds, which is perfect for this shot. Just waiting for the first light to hit the Eastern Sierra, and I'm going to probably get 2 sheets exposed by then. And what's interesting here is the light I can't tell if the sun has actually hit the mountains directly, but it just seems a little bit softer than what I'm normally used to seeing. So this is f32 and 2/3 of a stop on Portra 160 with a 1-second exposure. Sounds like my shutter kind of got a little stuck there. Interesting. I ended up taking a second exposure with the lens on bulb mode, and that's what you're looking at here. There were a small bank of clouds beyond the mountains to my east that I think blocked the first light from hitting the Sierras. That being said, I still think the light in the shot is nice, but when I compare it to the backlit version I took yesterday, I'm a little on the fence between the two. Guess I'm going to break this camera down and move on to the next spot. I'm just getting the film I exposed back into the case here. I'm going to spend the time today to find another subject and hopefully photograph that tomorrow morning. I spent pretty much the whole day just driving around looking for new locations and trying to find some photos for this evening and tomorrow morning. I got lucky and I found a few. So I think what I'm going to do is finish up lunch here and then head out to the first location and start setting up a shot for this evening, and then hopefully, if I can, get a second one in as well. We've got this shot all set up, and this one's more about the sort of the blue tones in the water and in the sky. There's a nice gradient that goes definitely in the water. The sky won't be as much of a gradient. I'm considering putting a 2-stop ND just to give it that gradient, but I think I'm going to try it without and see how that turns out. I'm also shooting on a 300, which is a little wider than I typically would, but I'm considering making this a 4x10 pano, so I want to leave a little extra room. Now these delicate little grasses that I'm photographing, they move in like the slightest bit of breeze, so I'm just kind of waiting for things to calm down. All right, just gonna do a quick little check. That sounds right. One thing I'll do when I'm photographing kind of in the bright light like this is I'll take my ground glass and I'll flip it the other way because the film goes in this way and the light's coming in right there. So I'm just gonna flip it around and shoot lefty. After all, I am lefty. So now I can insert it this way and I won't worry too much about light leaks. So I went ahead and switched my film out to Portrait 400 just to give me that higher shutter speed. All right, 30th of a second, here we go. I really like the dark blue gradation in the foreground of this shot. The panoramic version works well with this subject, but you do lose a lot of the foreground. However, I still think this version is my favorite. Okay, that was the wind was pretty calm. My shutter speed was a 30th of a second. I feel pretty good about that. I'm actually gonna run back up to my truck and grab my 6 to 800 millimeter. I wanna see what this looks like a little bit tighter. Right now I'm just popping the 600 millimeter on here. Okay, it's looking pretty good. I'm gonna lose the light here in about 10 minutes. I'm just getting things packed up here. That was a bit of an experimental shot, but hopefully it turns out okay. I think I'm gonna call that a wrap on this week's video. But as always, I wanna thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.